Hi, it's Ashley Casper, and I had the TED Talk by Kimberlé Crenshaw, The Urgency of Intersectionality. Kimberlé Crenshaw begins her TED Talk by asking the whole room to stand and to sit down when she said a name they didn't recognize. Eric Gardner, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray. At this point, half the room was standing still. She continued, Michelle Cusseau, Tanisha Anderson, Ara Rosser, Megan Hockaday. After this group of names, there were only a few people standing left. What was different between the people's names recognized and those who weren't? Gender. The first were black men who were murdered by police from 2014 to 2016, while the second were black women who were murdered by police in the same time frame. One would think that these black women would be recognized, as they had both racial and gendered violence by police against them. However, the issue Crenshaw says is at play is an issue of framing. For these black women, you can't think about violence against black people and violence against women separately, but instead you have to think about violence against black women. This is when Crenshaw introduces the term she coined, intersectionality. This was to fix the issue of framing. See, there's a lawsuit filed by a black woman named Emma DeGraffenreid on the basis of discrimination at a car factory where she wasn't hired. The judge, however, dismissed her case because the car factory was hiring black people and was hiring women. However, he failed to see that the black people hired were all men and the women hired were all white. The factory hadn't hired any black women. Not only did the court dismiss her case, but did so because they wouldn't allow her to put two causes of action together to tell her story, as Crenshaw said. Shortly after, she said, as a student of anti-discrimination law, as a feminist, as an anti-racist, I was struck by this case. It felt like an injustice squared. Because the court wouldn't frame this with both forms of discrimination in mind, they were unable to truly know her story. This is where intersectionality comes into play, named after an analogy of an intersection. I'm going to quote Crenshaw here because she said it far better than I ever could. If we think about this intersection, the roads to the intersection would be the way that the workforce was structured by race and gender. Then the traffic in those roads would be the hiring policies and the other practices that ran through the roads. Now, because Emma was both black and female, she was positioned precisely where those roads crossed, experiencing the simultaneous impact of the company's gender and race traffic. The law is like that ambulance that shows up and is ready to treat Emma only if it can be shown that she was harmed on the road for race or the gender road, but not where those roads intersected. These intersections can consist of all sorts of marginalization, including ableism, heterosexism, racism, xenophobia, and sexism. And this so-called traffic, which meet in the experience of a person, has real-life implication for how one may live their life, or in the case of far too many black men and women, lose their lives. I really encourage you to watch the video given to the class, but if you don't have time for much, just watch the last bit, starting around 15 minutes, to hear the names of many black women whose lives have been taken by police brutality. Breonna Taylor, Francine Graham, Atatiana Jefferson, Crystal Danielle Ragland, Pamela Shantae Turner, Nina Adams, Latasha Nicole Walton, Angel Viola DiCarlo, April Webster, Tamika Lachey Simpson, Lahuna Phillips, Dorecia Blackwell, Cynthia Fields, LaShonda Anderson, Shukri Ali Saad, DeCynthia Clements, Crystalline Barnes, Geraldine Towson, Carrie-Ann Hithen, Sandy Guardiola, Kiwi Herring, India N. Nelson, Charlena Lyles, Joni Block, Robin White, Alteria Woods, Morgan London Rankins, Michelle Lee Shirley, Deborah Danner, Corinne Gaines. These are names who have been added since the TED Talk was recorded. These were all black women who were killed by police. And personally, I've only ever heard of Breonna Taylor. Her death is one of the first deaths of a black woman by police that I've ever been made aware of, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Intersectionality is so important because we can't lose the people who suffer from more than one discrimination. We have to see their oppression through the lens of intersectionality to truly be able to treat people equally and equitably. The title, The Urgency of Intersectionality, shines light on just that. It's urgent. We must begin to view the world as intersectional, or too many people will continue to fall through the cracks. For discussion, some questions that I came up with is, 1, what are some intersections you notice aren't being seen by people as much as they need to be? For example, I think more people need to recognize the violence against Black trans women, as they are one of the most vulnerable groups of people. Second of all, in what ways can we continue to see intersectionality? We've used the example of the birdcage from Fry, and now we have the intersection from Crenshaw. Are there any other ways one could describe this? Thanks for watching, and hope you're having a good weekend. Bye.